I sit this morning, sunrise glistening atop colorful indigenous-inspired flags, spiraling over the cobblestone streets here in Oaxaca, Mexico. Deep, rich cacao flavors dance with my cells as I reflect over the past few weeks in a repose from my mountain home in Costa Rica. The sharing of these memories has been its own unique initiation in and of itself. It is best to erase all personal history, because that would make us free from the encumbering thoughts of other people. Carlos Castaneda. I recently ended chapter 2 speaking on my first major spiritual initiation in the Toltec tradition around the age of 9, when a profound book magically appeared on a shelf in my grandmother's home, and from that moment forward, the ember inside me was lit. Like a butterfly, freeing myself from a carefully woven spider's cocoon of webs stuck to and through my arms, legs, wings, and eyes, I spent years unweaving, untangling, clearing layers upon layers of story, opinion, and emotionally charged imprints of identities, from the depths of my subconscious down into the multidimensional layers of my genetic system, lineages, and templating, retrieving stuck and trapped energy from within these wounds, imprints, and memories, or taking distorted and corrupted files and bringing them back into harmony and coherence. In the Toltec traditions, one works to eliminate what they call self-importance, to dismantle the stories behind the personality, all that which vibrationally locks one into the world of illusion, realities based upon those stories and these constructs, and the emotional energetic weight connected to them, create what some might refer to as the matrix. One examines the self in the mirrors of its own projections onto the self, the world, the other, in the way a jaguar stalks its prey silently under the cover of night. And I did just that, over and over, even coming to face with real mountain lions. And the receiving jaguar skins placed upon my shoulders from the invisible masters in forests that held their graves under ancient ceiba trees. Because you see, these stories and their signatures weighted by emotions, Emoto's messages in water, become like a movie that gets replayed over and over, feeding one's light and inner dialogue into these stories, hardening like wax into the mold of your nervous system. Science refers to this as a decrease in neuroplasticity, the calcification of the flow of plasmas and its currents, damming the rivers of our inner waters from flowing freely throughout the ecosystem. I took on the codes of their traditions to live by, going as far as to speak only of the past if I must, and only in reference, without emotional charge, attachment, or connection to the stories. I learned how to see in my mind's eye that the passing on of the stories of the self can then divert the attention and energy of others in the quantum fields to hold these stories of this limited construct about who you are. Watching as it would shape someone's view and perception of me, sometimes adding weight and gravity, which can make it more likely for one to play out that same role or those same patterns and stay trapped within the frameworks inherent in that story. So many times over the years, passing from place to place in my various initiations and gridwork missions, I would share in divinely guided moments of my experiences with others. "You must write a book," I would often hear. And deep down, I felt this to be true. So many times I began to write in a notebook or on a computer various parts of the experiences I'm now sharing in these memoirs. But then a worry behind it, which I couldn't even feel at that time, a deep fear would start to divert my ability to continue to write these things out. This worry and fear was ironically what some would call a catch-22. I eventually saw that behind this worry was a fear that sharing these stories would trap me in them. As I had begun to share these memoirs, first in writing them out and then in spoken word, I watch as the vibrations and the connections made during the sharing have acted as a sort of final subtle psychic surgery. The attention to the experiences, the vibration of speaking them out, calling up any last stagnation or places within me that still may be weighted down by it all. As I began to experience this, what came with it was an incredible revelation about the greater story some call the great work, and a large part of why it could only be shared now. Yes, sharing one's stories can, within the quantum field, bring more attention, and it can play a large role in bringing more weight to them, and thus bring the challenges of holding one in those limits and patterns. However, in a similar way as asking for a group prayer can potentiate the power of those prayers, if the stories that are shared, like mine, actually tell the tale of one's own unraveling into their divine union with infinity itself, then that too can be empowered with witness and intention. In essence, it has become one of my greatest alchemical practices yet. The Toltecs also speak of a practice known as recapitulation. Some modern ways of being might call this parts work. A practice where one intentionally goes back into one's past to retrieve power, light, energy, and awareness that can still be stuck within these imprints and stories. In the same breath, it has come to my awareness that this work has become like a most grand offering on the altar of my life, a pure and beautiful despacho, a gift made to God and all those who come in contact for it. And this brings me deep gratitude.